All right, so in this video, I'm going to be breaking down to you guys how to overall start your weight loss journey successfully. Because I realized something. I realized personally that it's taken a long time to really like lock in on my fitness journey because I was always going back and forth. So I want to just basically share with you guys some of the highs and lows of my overall fitness journey, and just tips and things that you guys could incorporate in your fitness journey to really make sure that it lasts a long time and that is really successful for you guys. So before I get into the really breakdown in the weeds of this overall weight loss journey, how to successfully get into it, I want to just break down and just share a couple common struggles that I've noticed from other people who are big, and just personal experiences, especially early on in my fitness journey, that I was struggling with a lot. That I wanted to share with you guys. So I know a couple things is that people think that it's a lot of overwhelming information and a lot of analysis paralysis. So for me personally, I knew when I was trying to get into fitness, there was a whole bunch of information out there about how to like properly diet, how to train structure, different training structures, different training strategies. Overall, there's a lot of information out there online as far as like how to properly get into fitness, but nobody really talks about how to make sure it's like sustainable. Because at the end of the day, what I've come to realize is the only way to really succeed and really see physical results is to really be consistent through a long period of time. Because anybody, in my opinion, could really lock in for a month, but can somebody do it for 2 3 months? That's where people get separated in as far as like really seeing that initial weight loss. I'm not gonna lie though, starting out, if you're able to lock in for 1 month straight, you're gonna see a lot of progress in that very first month. But and usually after that first month, people really start to build more confidence and realize that it's really more of a compounding effect. But just one main thing that I've realized though, especially for me, like I was saying, is that there's just so much information out there as far as like different diets, and just overall, they just overall what I've realized, it's just like it just becomes too much information that doesn't like. There's an easier way. I feel like there's an easier way, and I'm gonna break down in this video overall the easiest way to really lock in and really just fully dial in on your fitness journey. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be a 2 to 3 month process. This is something that you should be considering, like shifting your whole mindset, and overall your life is going to be overall about fitness. Because you might like diet down for a few months, but you want to keep it sustainable. You don't want to just lose weight and then gain that right back. So that's why overall, especially starting out, it's really good to have a good mindset as far as like how to really get into fitness. Because once you're able to lock in, especially in the beginning process, it just becomes a compound effect overall in the long haul. Another common struggle I've noticed that I personally was victim of is just overall the fear of failing. Because like I said, for me, I would go up and down as far as my weight loss journey. I would lose weight, gain it back in a weekend, lose it again, get it back in the weekend. So I had no real structure. So I know a lot of people definitely struggle with realizing the importance of being consistent, and just overall the fear of like failing, and just like not having a proper direction. So especially early on, I think it's really really important early on to really lock in on your diet, and your diet, nutrition, and your weight loss, and your weight training programs. Just like having a really good set structure from the very beginning will set you apart from like 99% of the people who are even considering losing weight. So overall, having a good structure will automatically um, clear away and just evaporate that fear of failing. Because like I said, if you have a clear structure and a clear game plan tailored to you, there's the fear of failing should never even come up, because you're following a strict program that will 100% work if you stick to it. Um, Another key common struggle that I personally faced is that people have the all or nothing mentality. So basically, just like I was saying, just going on like a super strict diet for a week, restricting yourself crazily in the beginning, it's not sustainable. So that's why it's really important to like the all or nothing mindset is good in some aspects, but especially starting out like a new beginner. This is especially for guys. This is mainly targeted for people who are like who haven't even lifted weights or like done anything in the gym, and they're trying to get into fitness for the very very first time. The all or nothing mentality is not going to be the best, because your mindset was one way and now you're expected to have a completely 360-degree mindset into fitness, diet, nutrition. It becomes a lot and overwhelming. So having that all or nothing mentality can definitely veer off and like turn off some people into getting into fitness. So I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be that big of a jump. It's just slow increments that need to be changed in your diet, and throughout the process, you'll realize that it's not as bad as you think it is. It's just starting off with the right proper structure and not going all or nothing in the very beginning. That'll really set you apart as far as like being successful in your weight loss journey. Another thing I noticed is the lack of patience that I faced. So I was always really impatient with my process. I would always like not really like what I was looking at on the scale. I would weigh myself every day, which is not a good thing, especially starting out, because your weight will fluctuate a lot, especially in the very very beginning process. So I was always being impatient, and when I was impatient, I would just say fuck it. let me just since I gained this 1 pound, let me just eat more weight. So for me, I had a really bad mindset where like if I had a bad result, I would compound that bad result with more bad decisions. So I'd be like, okay, if I gained 1 pound today, I'm gonna just eat junk food for the rest of the day just because it's like fuck it, I'm already big already. So, but that's not a good mindset to have. So that's one thing I noticed people may also struggle with is just like the lack of patience. And I mentioned this before of the lack of structure. Honestly, having proper structure and a really good overall plan catered to you is going to be the most key essential as far as really sticking to a diet plan, sticking to a nutrition plan, and overall sticking to a nice workout routine. It's really important, especially for those of you who are starting completely new, starting from zero, trying to get into the fitness space and just overall really want to have a better life, have better health, and just look better. It's really important that you guys have a good proper structure and plan. Because I didn't have that. I didn't have that when I started my journey. That's why for me, it took me a really long time to lose the majority of my weight. I'm still currently trying to lose a little bit more weight, and I have a coach right now helping me lose that extra 20 pounds because I'm trying to get to like 205 to 210. Honestly, I'm gonna say I want to get to 205 to 200. That's where I really want to be for my height. So for me, um, I was able to get to where I was at through a lot of information, which isn't the best way to do it, but I could have definitely seen my results and gotten to where I am now, which is around 227. I'm currently at 227, so I could have gotten to this weight way sooner if I had a proper coach and a coach that not and when I mean proper coach, I mean a proper coach who's really on top of me as far as nutrition and my workouts. I had a coach, an in-person training coach that helped me help me understand the how to lift weights, but that was only good for like the weightlifting part. But 80% of the real work is done on the diet side. So for me right now, I even have a coach teaching me how to properly structure my diets. So that's helping me a lot lose the extra 20 pounds that I need to lose to get to my ultimate goal. So I just realizing that people don't have that proper structure, and that's really gonna hold you back because if it holds you once you don't see results and you don't see the point of it, it becomes really hard to stick through it. And a lot of people have self-doubt and low confidence, which I definitely had back then. As you guys can see in this picture, I think I was like 18 or 19. I was super low on myself. I was a big person. Now see me, I was even eating out at a restaurant. I was always eating out, so I was like, just I didn't care. So for me, I had really low confidence back then. And ultimately what it really came down to is knowing my why. So what you'll realize is, especially when you're deep in your fitness journey, you're gonna have to really lock in and really want to know, like I would say in the beginning and in the middle stages. The beginning stages is when you want to really like fully process and fully grasp why you want to get into fitness. Yeah, you want to. For me, it started off as I didn't want to look like a certain way. I didn't want to get too big to a point where it would be impossible for me to lose that weight. So I just wanted to just it takes it. I don't know. For some people, it may be different. It just clicked one day for me. I literally remember I woke up one day and it just clicked for me. Like, man, I do not want to look 300 plus pound. I don't want to be like 600 pounds where I'm super fat. And then if I were to somehow lose that weight, I would have to get like liposuction and surgery to remove all the excess skin. So I didn't want to I did not want to get to myself to that point. And I was realizing the way I was going, I was going to get to that point very soon. So for me, it really came down to I wanted to have more confidence in myself when I took off my shirt. Because back then I never took off my shirt when I went to the beaches or anything like that. So I wanted to have more confidence when I was looking at myself in the mirror, and also I wanted to develop that confidence to take off my shirt in public, and not mean when I mean public, I mean like beaches and stuff like that, and just overall having a better health and having a six pack and having some abs in definition. I really wanted that. I what I told myself was, will I end up dying never ever seeing my six pack or never seeing my abs? Because I've never had abs growing up. I was always a bigger, chunkier, chubby kid growing up. Luckily for me, since I was bigger, it was hard for me to like most of my weight went to my legs and my lower back. So yeah, I had a big stomach, but it wasn't like super big. So back in this picture, I was over like 280 pounds. So when I've seen other people who have 80 plus pounds on their frame, and they look bigger than I did. But not knowing that I was the same weight as them. So overall, realizing what I wanted to do this for is really important for you guys to really lock in and structure that, and maybe even write it down on your phone, your on a piece of notepad. Just make sure you write down your why. Like you really want to know why you want to get into this. That was another main struggle that I faced, and I hope you guys will learn from that too. Another thing is, so now let me get into actually the first main key key process to really locking in and just really having a successful start to your personal fitness journey is to one first set like realistic goals and expectations. So I think it's really important for you guys, especially starting off, to really focus on progress, not perfection. That is a really, really, really important because for me, I did not have that mindset of having a really set process. I was always trying to be perfect, and that never really worked out for me because when you're bigger, it's harder to really just change your whole process of how you do things in a 360 spin. So one day you're eating a whole bunch of junk food, the next day you're eating a super restrictive diet, taking out a whole bunch of shit. So that thing, I realized that's not going to be successful or sustainable long term. So just overall focusing on incremental progress is really important. And another thing is to really set some short-term and long-term goals. And what I mean by that is, yes, it's good to have a long-term goal. So right now we're in July. So say in the next 6 months, by the end of the year, let's say the start of the new year, if you started today your journey and you said by the end of the year, and let's say you're right now you're a 6 foot man, you're maybe around 280 pounds, you're trying to get to maybe, I'm not sure what a 6 foot man. Let's say you're trying to weigh like 200 pounds. So that's about, I said 280 at the beginning. So I said, so that's 80 pounds you're trying to lose in the next 6 months, which is really doable. But you would have to really be super locked in for 6 months. That would be no cheat meals. I would say maybe one cheat meal every 3 months. So two cheat meals throughout the whole 6 months would be your target. But let's just say you locked in for those 6 months. You The ultimate goal is to lose 80 pounds. So the 80 pounds of weight loss is your long term goal. And when I mean weight loss, I mean actual fat loss because there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. And I feel like most people want to lose the fat. They want to still have some decent frame to them, not look super anorexic or skinny. So somebody's goal is to lose 60 to 80 pounds and 80 pounds of fat in those 6 months. I would say that's pretty doable, but that will be your long term goals. Short term goal or short term goals. I'm sorry, I'm missing out. Is to maybe lose around like I think a good rate of maybe like I would say every like 5 pounds a month. I would say that's really doable, especially for somebody starting off that big. But as you obviously go down in weight, it'll be harder and harder to lose that weight, and then you have to tweak out your calories, your macros, and stuff like that. But that's a separate topic. But overall, setting a long-term goal, which is to lose this amount of weight in this time frame, and a really good short-term goal, which is very, very doable, is to just at least try to lose 3 to 5 pounds a month. That for me was something that I realized that helped me really lock in and just like have those tiny wins in the short term. Because when you compile wins in the short term, that just helps you overall really lock in and continue on to the process on those long term goals. So what I mean by that is, yeah, 6 months from now may seem a long time from now. So to some people that may be discouraging. That man, 6 months is a really long time from now. How do I I can't just get there now. So the best way to I would say that let the time go by is to just have a short term goal and try to lock in on those short term goals. So even weekly, I would say weekly is maybe too much. Maybe every 2 weeks, if you're losing if you're losing at least 1 pound in 2 weeks, you're doing something correct. So obviously, the more pounds you lose, the better. But what helped me, especially during my middle, I would say I'm in my middle phase. I would say more towards the end right now. But either way, having a goal in the short term of figuring out if you're losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, and if you're doing that within a month, that's 4 pounds. If you lose 4 pounds in a month, so if you know that if you're losing 4 pounds, 4 to 5 pounds in a month, you're on the right trajectory. So if you know that, you're in a good spot, and you having those tiny wins on a monthly scale, by the end of those 4, 5, 6 months, you should definitely see a lot of physical results. Even if you don't get to that 200 pounds. So like I was mentioning, the 280 guy, if he doesn't get to 200 pounds, he's gonna be really, really in a good position 6 months from now, where he won't even he may even realize if he was to lock in from now all the way till the new year, and let's say he didn't get to 200, he got to like 220, 230. That's still a lot of weight he lost. Number one, and maybe at that weight he'll look at himself and be like, okay, I'm actually satisfied with how I look. I can stick with this weight. So who knows? But I know people have super, super lofty goals in the very, very beginning. Some of them may be, I don't want to say unattainable because any weight is unattainable. Any weight, in my opinion, any weight is attainable if you just put the work in. So, but just realizing having short term and long term goals are really, really key and important. And lastly, do not chase the scale alone. It's really important to track your body fat, your energy levels, and your strength as well. For me, it's hard to track my body weight because I don't really go to DEXA scan. As of right now, I don't even know what my actual 100% body fat percentage is. I have to go to get that DEXA scan. I'm probably gonna do that towards the end of my cut. But it's really important to it's not really super important, especially early on, to track your weight every single day. I would say a good, healthy way to track your weight is to track it once a week. So for me, I currently track my weight every Sunday morning. Um, that is a really good way to really traject and have a good idea of where you're going as far as weight. I know a lot of people say that hey, your weight fluctuates, but throughout 7 days, if you track your weight, if you track your weight once a week on a monthly basis, you should see a trajectory going down. If you see it going up slightly, you know that you kind of maybe ate a little bit over maintenance, or you weren't super consistent. But if you're like, from what I've noticed, especially now when I'm really locked in on my diet, is making sure I'm tracking my weight weekly on a Sunday morning. So pick a day, it doesn't have to be Sunday. But just making sure you track your weight weekly is fine, and that really helps. But tracking it every day will make you go insane. Because that'll, especially for me, tracking my weight every day, it messed up how I would go about my day. That would literally determine if I had a good day or bad day that day. That's how bad it got for me. So let's say I track my weight on a Wednesday morning. Um, if I tracked it throughout the day, if I track my weight Wednesday morning and it wasn't the weight I was expecting it to be, whether it's half a pound down, if I had gained weight, like even if it was like 0.1 pound, I would just get so frustrated, and that would ruin my whole day. So that's not healthy. So making sure you just track your weight once a week is fine, and also tracking your lifting. So it's important. It's important, especially when you're trying to lose weight and trying to like tone up and get rid of that excess fat, to have some muscle so your muscle can pop out more. So to do that, it's obviously you need to build strength and have some muscles. So you're not gonna like be super like crazy lifting heavy in the gym, but it's always good to start off have like tracking your weight, your strength trainings. Um Even if you're consistently the same lifting the same weight, that's good, in my opinion. But obviously you may want to progress a little bit like every month. So if you're doing benching for me, I'm doing 225 on the bench. I'm trying to get that up, but I'm cutting right now, so I'm not really like holding that against myself. But overall, just making sure you're tracking your lifting sessions and making sure you're just trying to get a little bit stronger. The way I see it is, if you're like, let's say you're cutting, you're trying to lose weight. If you're able to lift the same weight that you did in the beginning of the month, at the end of the month, you may want to try to increase that strength a little bit. But overall, if your strength remains the same or you increase your strength, that's a good thing. But if you end up dipping your strength, you may want to try to push yourself a little bit more in the gym, but nothing crazy. That's just how I see it. So another thing I mentioned earlier is what will really set you apart in your fitness journey, guys, is to just really identify your why. It's really, really important to ask yourself why you're getting into fitness. Like, I know a lot of people have like a surface level, oh, I want to just lose my gut. I want to just lose my, but you have to realize, first of all, you gave yourself that gut. So, but that's besides the point. You have to just sit down and really think and reflect. And this may take some time, but you have to, you got to really reflect on why you want to lose your weight. For me, it was, I didn't want to look like this guy. All love and respect to this guy. The guy on my 600 pound. It wasn't not just him in general, but I know I was watching my 600 pound life, and I wanted to like really like, I don't know how to say, but I wanted to like really drive the point in my head that if I kept eating and doing what I'm doing, I would literally look like these guys on these shows. Because I was watching the 600 pound life, and I was seeing how they were eating. And what's crazy enough is they were eating kind of the same foods I was eating, just on a smaller scale. But they were still eating like pizza for breakfast. What they were eating, I was eating too, but just on a smaller scale. So pizza for breakfast sometimes. They were eating like they were eating so much pancakes, or like they were just doing a lot of the foods they were eating. I was eating, but just on a smaller scale, and that opened my mindset as far as like, damn, if I kept eating the way they're eating, I'm gonna be training my body to eat more food, and then at some point I just get super big, and I didn't want that. So that was one key identifier as to why I wanted to lose the weight. And the second thing is I wanted to look more confident in the mirror when I was shirtless. I did not like the way I looked in the mirror shirtless at all. I would see myself getting bigger and bigger, and my laziness and my like, I would say my denial, my self denial was was what was preventing me from really take action, especially in the beginning of my journey. So it's important for you guys to really lock in and just understand why you want to get into fitness. Really understand, yes, it's important to look healthy, so you really want to make sure that's one key thing, but just wanting to fully go deeper into why you want to look healthy. You want to have a long lasting life is important. So all these things, there's multiple reasons. So you really have to sit down and really map, really jot down. I would say jot down like five key reasons why you want to lose this weight. And you have to really lock in on those reasons why, because those are the reasons that's going to keep you going even on days you don't feel like going to the gym. So also, I forgot to mention one thing for me is I want to compete in a natural bodybuilding lifting competition. So obviously, you can't look like this guy. Oh, like I said, all respect to this guy, but you cannot look like this guy if you want to compete in natural bodybuilding competition. And that's just something that was one of my whys later on. That wasn't something I initially started. Like when I first started my fitness journey, I was not thinking of becoming a natural bodybuilding lifter. This is just something that happens throughout your journey. So even while you're working out, so let's say you don't have five key things that you really want to lock in on, and really you don't know your five whys throughout your journey. If you have one to two, you should be those one to two serious killer. I would say, like, how would I call them? Those pillars, those two pillars of, as to why you want to lose the weight, will get you pretty far. But then obviously, as you go throughout your journey, you may also pick up a few more pillars as to why you want to continue to lose that weight now. Because for me, now another reason why I want to lose the weight is because I want to compete in a natural bodybuilding show. So that could be one of you guys as well. One of you watching this, if you want to compete, because when you're in the gym, so when you're in the gym a lot and you're locked in on your nutrition, you just start having a different mindset. You become a new person. So yeah, that's really important to know. And it's also really important to start small and to build momentum. So what I've realized and what I really want to preach to you guys is to try not to overhaul your life all in one week. And what I mean by that is, let's say a week before you're eating a whole bunch of shit, a whole bunch of processed foods, pizza, pasta and spaghetti. And when I mean pasta and spaghetti, I mean, like, the 85 ground beef. So eating all these like foods that are really really high in calories and not really tracking it. Simply tracking your food is literally one tweak that'll help you realize what you're putting in your body as far as calorie wise. That would be one small step that I would consider you guys to do. Um, but just going from one week doing this, eating one way, and then the next week going on like a keto diet or like a vegetarian diet, which I don't recommend anybody to do at any point in their journey. I think that's complete dumb shit. But either way, going from one, like I said, mentioned earlier, going from one way to a complete 360 in another week is not sustainable, especially in the long term goal, and especially in the long term, it is not sustainable. So that's why it's really, really important. What I do is I map out and I make a list of all the foods I like to eat, and then I'll just either pick healthier versions and weigh those out and portion them out and have portion control. And to me, it doesn't even feel like I'm not eating what I like to eat. So for me, I love eggs. I love bread. I love ground beef. I love chicken. So those things, what I would do is, so for eggs is eggs. So eggs is good in moderation, obviously. So for bread, I wouldn't eat regular, like, white bread. I'd eat the Dave's Killer whole grain bread. So those are really good too. I would eat that with that and grapes. I love fruits and stuff. So as you guys can see, this is in the top picture. This is currently what I kind of eat for breakfast: some eggs, some Dave's Killer bread. They're like whole grain breads, which is really really good, and some fruits. So for lunch, instead of eating 85 ground beef with having spaghetti and meatballs that way, switching it out with some 93 ground beef. I'm not sure if you guys know the calorie difference from an 85 ground beef to a 93 lean ground beef. It's like it's crazy if you look at the macros on that. So switching it out, doing some small changes like that will definitely help you early on in your journey. So if you like burgers, anything with ground beef, literally just cooking them yourself. Cooking them yourself is one thing. So I know a lot of people, they like to buy foods out. They don't like to cook it themselves. So you will have to learn how to cook. That's one thing I will say may be an adjustment for you. That could be a 360 if you've never cooked before. I would say you don't have to cook all your foods. You can buy a lot of, like, I don't even think you can buy pre-cooked ground beef. I mean, I think you probably should be able to. If you, I just haven't, I just cook all my stuff, but just making sure you pick like 93 ground beef cooked if you wanted to get that. But chicken wise, I like chicken. So instead of eating fried chicken, like, going to KFC, Chick-fil-A, I would literally make my own chicken sandwich at home with grilled chicken. Or if I wanted a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, I would get the grilled chicken sandwich. So yeah, I forgot to mention, if you are going out, you don't have to not go out. You just have to pick healthier options that are close to what you would like to eat. So if you like fried chicken sandwich with fries, you could either do some grilled chicken sandwich. And if you really really want the fries, you could still have the fries. I would say, but I would say switch it out completely with some fruits or something else like sweet potato fries or something like that. But for me, fries isn't too bad because it's still carbs. But if that's your only if that's gonna be your own fried food for the day, I would say that's okay. But just making small tweaks here or there is really important. One thing you should not be doing is not going out completely if you're being asked to go out to eat. Saying no completely, especially early on, may be tough for you. So That's one thing you don't have to do. And going completely keto diet, vegetarian diet, intermittent fasting diet, just like completely cutting off foods that you would normally eat is not going to be sustainable, because ultimately this is something you're going to be doing for most people. They would need to be in a good calorie deficit, have like a good calorie structured diet for 6 months. And 6 months isn't really a long time in the grand scheme of it, but I know day to day 6 months could definitely feel like a long time. So for most people to see significant weight loss, it would take them about 3 to 6 months. And for those 3 to 6 months, you need to lock in on your nutrition and really understand what you're eating. So, and to do that, you don't have to completely cut off food. You just need to make substitutes and make better choices. Um, and simply cutting out soda, for me, soda was never a big thing for me because I never drank soda. I never really drank soda growing up a lot, but my dad did. So I'm actually trying to help my dad lose weight, and I've noticed him simply cutting out soda has made a big difference in his overall look. He still has work to do. I'm helping him out, but just overall cutting out soda, just cutting out certain foods can help. But I know for some people it's really tough. But if they were to cut off one thing, I would say cut off soda, cut off one thing you know is literally killing your progress. So if you can do that, on top of making substitutes for good foods, good whole food, that will set you apart and helping you build that momentum for the long term. And going off my last point, creating a simple nutrition strategy is really important. So what I mean by that is you want to be able to track your food, and I would say I know a lot of people, they're not too good at tracking their food, or they think it's too complicated. It's really not. Especially if you cook all your meals at home and you meal prep it for the week, you don't really have to track it. If you, I mean, you just need to track the first day, and then if you're eating the same thing throughout the week, you'll know you're eating the same calories. So, but it's really important to tracking your food, especially early on. So that's one, two. Okay, I would say there's two non-negotiables when you really want to start your fitness journey and be set up for success. Is to one, track your food, and if you don't want to track it physically, maybe mentally tracking your food as far as like what you're eating. But I know a lot of people aren't mental accountants; they can't just track numbers in their head. So that's why it's important to have like actual numbers in your face, so you know how much calories you're accumulating throughout the day. So it's important to track your foods, um, even loosely in the beginning. I guess you could say loosely. So doing some like small tracking here or there in the beginning. The main reason of tracking is more of a psychological thing, from what I've come to realize. It's just to help you be aware of what you're eating on a daily basis. Because I know a lot of people, even me, this is what, especially I was definitely a big component of this. I was just eating loosely. I wasn't tracking what I was eating throughout a day. I could easily, I think, looking back, it's hard to really tell, but I would easily say I could eat like 5,000 calories a day without even like, and I would still be hungry. What's crazy is I would eat 5,000 calories a day, and at the end of the day, I would still be hungry for like an extra snack. So for me, my calories were really piling up completely, and especially eating junk food like candy, a lot of like frozen foods like hot pockets, all those stuff. Those have a lot of calories and they add up super quick. A lot of drinks that I would certainly be drinking, like juices, a lot of juices. Those things they just compile real quick. So it's important to just having a nice idea. So if you don't want to physically track it with numbers like using MyFitnessPal, which at some point you will have to use it. So I don't want to diminish the importance of it, but if you don't want to track your foods super strict in the beginning, it's just important to just have an idea and an awareness of what you're eating on a daily basis, and to always prioritize protein and whole foods. If you're able to do that, especially in the beginning, it'll help set you up for success in the long run. And prioritizing protein, all it means is just eating. A lot of people eat protein, they just eat like the super fattier versions of the protein, but just prioritizing leaner sources of protein will definitely set you apart in your own fitness journey. And lastly, to just like I said, I mentioned this a few times, to just avoid completely some extreme diet fads and super over restriction. So for me, the way I am, if I restrict myself too much, at some point I'll break, and when I break, I'll just go on a super binge eating streak, and that's never a good thing. So that's why it's important to never like over restrict yourself on foods you don't want to eat, on foods you're usually eating, but you want to like have a nice balance. And ultimately, if you're eating whole foods, whole processed foods, you're for me at least, my overall appetite for junk food has just gone lower and lower. Because like once you're eating super clean, the urge to eat junk food will just go down. You'll realize that, especially in your own fitness journey. But just overall, especially starting out, because I know starting out, people are still having tendencies to eat junk food. making sure to prioritize, making sure to have like if you're really like craving these junk foods, you could have a cheat meal once a month. Is what I did for my first 3 months of my fitness journey. I would have a cheat meal once a month, but just trying to keep that at a minimum is really important. But just overall, completely cutting off foods, like just cutting off carbs, like cutting off rice, cutting off pasta, like strictly just eating vegetables. I don't know how they do it. I don't think they honestly do it correctly. Honestly, I don't think 90% of people who say they're doing these super restrictive diets, they're either doing that, like they're eating the regular foods, and then on camera they'll say they're gonna say they're eating these restrictive diet, but ultimately most people, I feel like they're not eating what they say they're eating. So just to avoid all that BS, it's okay to eat your carbs, just making sure you're eating it in right proportions. Back to tracking, so you can eat your pasta, your spaghetti, your rice. I eat that all the time. I literally could not go without these foods. So breads as well, you can eat them, just making sure you're just eating them in moderation. Your body doesn't need as much carbs and all this extra stuff you may think you need, but it needs it, but just not in a super surplus, especially if you're on the bigger side. So just making sure you're tracking your food and not over restricting yourself will really set you apart, and as far as having success in your fitness journey. Another thing is really important. So now that you have a good idea on the diet side, now on the physical activity side, it's really important for you guys to at least start training 3 to 4 days a week, especially for especially for beginners starting out their. I'm sorry, I'm speaking too fast. Especially for beginners starting out their fitness journey. So guys who've never lifted before, never touched a gym, never stepped foot in a single gym, you don't want to train like what I'm doing right now. As far as weightlifting, I do not recommend it for you guys, especially starting out. I do 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on. So within 7 days, I'm working out 6 days. Um, so that's just me now. I do not recommend that for you guys, especially early on. You could see a lot of progress in working out 3 to 4 days. So if you work out Monday, Tuesday, rest Wednesday, work out Thursday, Friday, and then you rest Saturday, Sunday, and can repeat that cycle, that really will set you up for success. But just overall, having a good, proper training structure, 3 to 4 days a week, starting out, would definitely, on top of your proper nutrition, would definitely if I had realized the importance of like having a proper workout routine structure on days I was working out, guys, I would have seen way more success and results early on in my journey. So I really want to stress that point enough. So on top of the diet and nutrition, having a good training structure will really help you set you up for success in the long run, and that'll only help you become more consistent. Because honestly, if you're working 3 to 4 days, working out 3 to 4 days a week, which is, in my opinion, I guess because I work out so much, isn't really a lot. You'll just start realizing that, okay, once I get 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 days in the week, if I do that for like 3 months, you're gonna start building an urge to want to go to the gym a little bit more, adding some more workouts in your routine, and then you can bump it up to five. Honestly, 6 days. What I'm doing right now is kind of overkill. I could just basically do 5 days a week, so do 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. But for me, I'm kind of a crackhead at this point. So, but either way, that's beside the point. Just overall, working out 3 to 4 days a week is really good starting out, and that just helps to build more consistency, and just overall helps you make it more long lasting and sustainable. And when you're going to this gym to lift weights, I only suggest, if you're going to be lifting 3 to 4 days a week, I just recommend you start lift that you just stretch. You do your stretches, your maybe 5-10 minute walk on the treadmill, and then jump right into weights. You don't want to use the gym as like an extra, as a cardio session, as a cardio training session. You don't want to go to the gym and walk on a treadmill. You could do that at home any day of the week, just walk around your neighborhood. But when you're at the gym, guys, I recommend you start lifting weights, having a good structured program as far as lifting. So if you're gonna be working out 4 days a week, I would say do upper lower, rest upper lower, and that'll be a good starting point for you guys. And like I was mentioning, as far as lifting weights, I know a lot of people say you want to be progressively overloading every week, which honestly isn't sustainable. I honestly, I don't. I mean, I don't progressively overload every week. I just try to at least maintain the strength that I had last week and just add an extra rep. So if I did 10, if I was doing bench press for 225 for 8 1 week, I would try to do 9. If I couldn't do 9, I would just do what I could and then quickly go for a 1 second rest, and then for I would say 5 second rest to try to do 2 more. If I couldn't do that, I would drop the weight, drop it down to something, just bench out 15 to 20. So either way, you can always find ways to just really. The reason why people say you want to do progressive overload is because you want to, because when people want to lose weight, they want to lose the actual body fat, but actually build some muscle and size to look slim. So it's that muscular tone and build that most people want. So to have that muscular tone build, you need muscle. So overall, I can go into a whole nother video on how to train, but just making sure you're hitting the gym. You're at least training to moderate intensity when you're lifting weights. You should be able to set up for success as far as like being consistent with that. And just overall, I mentioned this early on as far as tracking your weight, but it's really important to not be so stuck up on the scale on a daily basis. On a weekly basis, I would say you can look at it to gauge your progress throughout the week. But if you were to gain weight within 1 week, within 7 days, so from Sunday, from one Sunday to the next, all that tells you is that okay, I either didn't eat the correct foods. You have to make a self evaluation of what you did that week prior. But more than likely, either you just didn't eat the way you were supposed to eat, you ate something you weren't, or you missed the gym shots, or you missed the gym. It usually just comes down to two things, guys. Which is the good thing that I personally realized, and what you're gonna realize throughout your fitness journey is the way to lose weight is very straightforward as far as like how to get to your goal. It's literally just tracking your foods, eating the right amount of foods, making sure you're in a calorie deficit, and you're lifting weights and you're hitting the gym to burn off some calories and to also build some muscles. So if you're weighing yourself week to week and you realize from 1 week to the next you did not lose weight, if you did not lose weight, that's not a bad sign. But if you say you gained 2 pounds or you gained a pound within one sentence to the next, all you know is you were deficient in one of those things throughout the week at least. And I would say you were deficient out of 7 days. You probably were deficient twice of those out of those 7 days. But if your weight remained the same, that does not mean any cause to pause. You could still do the same thing you were doing the week before. But if it went up, you just know that you did something you weren't supposed to. So that's all the scale is supposed to be for you guys on a weekly basis. But overall, the scale doesn't really tell you the full picture. Is what I'm coming to realize. I'm still to this day. It's hard for me to realize like it's hard for me to have a full grasp on like the full long term goal, and making sure I'm not thinking right in the moment. So that's something that's gonna take a long time for you guys to develop. And the only way for you guys to fully realize that is to just obviously take progress photos. So what I started doing is I took progress photos of how I looked in the beginning. You guys saw me in the first slide. That's kind of I have a lot more photos that I'll be sharing with you guys. But yeah, I had progress photos from when I started my fitness journey till now, and I can see a 90-day difference, obviously. But that 90-day difference took a couple months to get to. But just overall understanding the process is really important, and just fully grasping that weight loss is not linear. So it's important to know when you're on the scale, you lose a lot of water weight. So just making sure you realize that stepping on the scale daily is not linear. But I would for me at least, I've realized tracking my weight week to week has helped me really gauge what I did throughout the week. So just overall being patient with it and making sure you and what I mean by being patient, if you guys are on like have a good coach, I would say most people who are really wanting to get into fitness and like have no idea what to do, they need some guidance and direction structured for them. And the only way to have that guidance and structure is to have somebody explaining to you what you need to do specifically. And if you're sticking to a plan, let's say you don't want a coach, you want to do it yourself. If you're sticking to a plan, a diet plan, a workout routine plan, overall nutrition routine that you know is sustainable and you know you can do every single day for months on end, if you're doing that, you'll know. Let's say if you did not lose weight, you know, okay, I'm on the right track at least. I got stronger in the gym. My waist is a little bit slimmer. My face got a little bit slimmer. You'll start noticing a lot of things if you're following a nice structured plan as far as eating correctly and working out when you need to work out. You will notice progress. So even on days when like the scale isn't reflecting what you really wanted to reflect, just knowing if you're on the right structured path, that'll help you set you up for success. So it's really important to do that. And I'll also need to stress the importance of building a good environment. So when you go to the grocery store, obviously making sure you buy the right food you need to buy, but making sure I know a lot of people they may live with their parents. I do too. So my parents they like to buy a lot of junk food because I have a lot of younger siblings. So if you just need to overall be set up for success. So you need to try to limit or try to like really minimize the amount of junk food you have in your cabinets. This is one thing I noticed was really holding me back a lot because for me, what I would do is I would lock into my diet Monday through Friday, maybe even a Saturday, and then on a Sunday, let's say I wasn't working out, it was an off day for me. I would go to the pantry and see some snacks, some graham crackers, some processed cereal, and be like, okay, you know what? Maybe a bowl of this wouldn't hurt. And then one bowl would turn into two bowls, and then I'll tell three bowls were usually my max. So, but overall, there was a lot. There's even to this day, I'm just learning not to just have better self awareness and self willpower. But because I live with my parents and I have younger siblings, I'm not gonna tell them. I'm for me at least, I'm trying to influence my parents to eat more healthier and my siblings to eat more healthier. But honestly, I'm not gonna just completely take over the pantry. I don't feel like it's my space. But once I get my own spot, trust me, you can best believe I'm gonna have 100% healthy foods in my kitchen and my pantry. But just overall, it helps set you up for success. I've realized having a good environment that has healthy food. So even when you're hungry, you can grab a healthier snack, grab a protein bar, grab some health. There's some healthy Quest chips or something like that. So it will be really, really beneficial for you guys, especially if you guys are living by yourself or you have a spot where you're in charge of the pantry. Making sure you remove junk foods completely, just removing that bad influence and bad temptation will help set you up for success. Because yes, I'm not gonna lie, when you're eating in a deficit, you will be hungry some days, especially on days where you're in the house and you're like it's your rest day. You will want to have like urge to like snack on something processed, make something that you're not supposed to eat. For me, what I currently do to negate all this is I just meal prep for like 2 3 weeks. So when I'm hungry and I want to eat something, I just go to the fridge, grab a meal prep, eat that, or eat a fruit or vegetable. Or eat, vegetable, not really, but I'll eat a fruit or protein bar. That usually right now for me is what's helping me continue my weight loss journey, even when my parents have a bunch of junk food in the cabinet. So overall, setting yourself up for success, this will be the number one way I would say is the best way to set you guys up for success is just eliminate or minimize the processed foods in your kitchen. And lastly, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the most important things is to just overall do not quit. I know a lot of people in the fitness journey, but anybody who's starting the fitness journey, they may have seen some progress one week, and then the next week, they didn't turn out the best way. Let's say they locked in for 5 days. Saturday they went out to drink with their friends, and let's say they went out to eat, and they weigh themselves back on Sunday, and they may have gained a pound or two. Or let's say like the holidays. I know the holidays is coming up really soon. In a few months we have Christmas, and I know people are gonna go crazy on Christmas. For me, last Christmas I went crazy. So for this Christmas is when I'm gonna lock in and really just Thanksgiving and Christmas is when I'm gonna try to lock in and just really minimize all the junk food I'm gonna be eating. So, but I know from personal experience that when I would eat something, I don't want to say bad. I would say just unhealthy, and I know wasn't good for my body, like 3 4 slices of pizza. Um, I don't know what they have in those Sam's Club pizza, but those pizzas are pretty good. So I would let's say if I was eating 3 4 slices of the Sam's Club pizza one day, what I would tend to do is the next day I would feel really bad and guilty. I would just do some overkill in the gym. I would work out 2 hours on the cardio treadmill and then start lifting weights right after that. Just do a whole bunch of shit. I would like fast throughout the morning and just eat dinner, lunch and dinner. So guys, the best advice I would give anybody who was, let's say they were on track for a couple days and then one day they just ate like shit, the best and ultimate advice I would give anybody is to just start again the next day like nothing happened. That is the best advice I could give any of you guys. So if you guys, any of you guys who are in their fitness journey and they say, let's say you've lost weight, not even lost weight. Let's say you're eating good one week, and then on a Saturday or on a Sunday, it's usually the weekend. Friday, I want to say either late Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, because that was how it was for me. So what I'm gonna obviously assume is that most people tend to slip up on the weekends. So let's say you ate like shit on Saturday, just get right back into the routine on Sunday. So what I would definitely recommend is, like I said, meal prepping for 7 to 8 days. That just helps negate everything. So you're not so if you're going to eat like shit on Saturday, on Sunday you can get right back into the routine of eating your meal preps. So just overall, not letting one bad week tumbleweed into 2 bad weeks. So what I also noticed that people do is that they'll eat like shit one day on a Saturday, and they say, okay, you know what? Since I ate like shit on Saturday, I'm gonna restart on Monday. So you know what? Let me eat like shit again on Sunday. So that is not what I would say you guys should do. I was guilty of doing that once or twice a week, and then all I did was compound my guilt, and then I would just feel like shit on Monday. But just making sure you don't let one day compound to two. Just making sure when you eat like shit like on one day, you just get right back into it. Like literally, forget what happened the previous day. Get right back on track the next day. Eat the same food you were gonna eat on your regular meal prep. Work out if you're scheduled to work out the next day. Hit that gym session, obviously, and just overall, just get right back on track. That is the ultimate advice I would give you. Do not quit and start making one day turn into 2 days, and then 2 days turn into 3 days, and then when you're on the Thanksgiving break. So let's say Thanksgiving is on a Thursday. Only make Thursday that shitty day for you. I know for me, I may be tempted to eat more than I'm supposed to on a Thursday on Thanksgiving. So Thursday will be my only day I'll do that. Friday, I'll get right back into it. So that's how I recommend you guys do it as well. And if you guys do it that way, you guys should be set up for success, man. And man, yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video.